Last night, the club put up a statement on their official website, and guess what? I love it. I absolutely love it. The minutes from the meeting with the fan advisory board came out last night, and there wasn't anything too juicy in there. It's just a summary of a meeting. It has to be agreed by both parties. It was never going to be that juicy. But I was hoping they would release a statement, because they usually do. They can't help themselves, can they? Because they can't put anything in that meeting that's not agreed by the fan advisory board. But they can put out their own statement, and it doesn't need the approval of anyone. So I was sort of wondering, are they going to do something? I think they will. And they did. I read it and I absolutely loved it. If we go back to last week, middle of last week, so there's 10 days until the protest before the Crystal Palace game. So plan A for the club is to kill the protest, get rid of it. So you speak to the organisers and say, what can we do to get rid of this? Then you realise very quickly, it ain't happening. That's not even an option. The protest is going ahead unless they both resign, Brady and Sullivan. Unless you two resign, the protest is going ahead. So that's that. Plan A is a no-go. Plan B, minimise it as much as you can. The club's plan has to be to do whatever they can to deter people going on that protest. So there's some things they just cannot control. The weather, for example. If it's a monsoon, it might put a few people off. If West Ham father is planning on going to the protest with his little kid and it's pissing down with rain, who could blame him if he thinks, do you know what, I better just get into the stadium and get wee man under shelter? Completely understandable. So there's some things the club just cannot control. They would have been looking at that Spurs game thinking, oh, please just win. Because there will be some fans that are unsure if they wish to protest. They might think, oh, I kind of want to protest, I'm not too sure. But if we beat Spurs, hey, back-to-back wins, things are looking up a little bit. I'm not going to join that protest. I'm going to leave that one because they're protesting at every single home game this season. There will be plenty more for me to join in. I won't go to the Spurs one. Obviously, we got smashed by Spurs, so that didn't help the club. So what do? Well, panic, I think, is what they've done, and they put up that statement last night. Now, what is the aim of the statement? They will say it's to speak to West Ham fans and to say, hey, look at us. Look what we've done for your club. You should be grateful. Don't go on that protest. They might as well have just written that and left it. They might as well have just written a paragraph about how wonderful they are, and West Ham fans should not be going on the protest because they're wonderful. That's it. But I think they're addressing people that aren't West Ham fans. I think it's for the mainstream media. Saying, hey, journalist over there, don't report on the protest because look how good we are. Look what we've done for this football club. 14 consecutive seasons in the Premier League. Don't look at what we've achieved. Don't look at our finances. Don't look at our training ground. No. Don't look at that. 14 consecutive seasons in the Premier League. Hey, do we get a trophy for that? We deserve a trophy for that because we're so good at what we do. That's what the statement basically said. And I love it. Because that statement is pure Karen Brady and pure David Sullivan. That statement sums them two up perfectly. I absolutely loved it. Because if any of those people that were unsure if I want to protest, they've probably read it and decided I'm going on the protest now. That statement last night was the best piece of PR I've seen in favour of attending the protest before the Crystal Palace game. They've played an absolute blinder. Hammers United, your numbers have increased on Saturday because of Karen Brady and David Sullivan opening their mouth. Or typing up something on a computer. You get my point. What an own goal this is, honestly. What an absolute own goal. They just don't get it. Well, actually, I think they do. They just don't care. I think they're tone deaf. And I think when they type that up, they probably read it and thought, oh, what a fantastic piece this is. Let's put it out there. That'll convince everyone, won't it? It's convincing no one. Well, actually it is. It's convincing people. It's reminding us how bad you are at your job. It's reminding us as to why we want you gone. Anyway, I've read through it twice, 3 times, just to make sure I've got everything. I've got some notes here, and I'm going to prove they're lying. I'm going to prove they're lying in that statement. And how am I going to prove they're lying in that statement? Well, I'm going to use facts. I'm going to give you my opinion on a lot of things, but one bit in particular is just lies. and I'm going to prove it. If you're new to Hammers Chat, please do subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like. And can we get some likes for that statement from Karen Brady and David Sullivan? That's got to be worth 1,500 likes, hasn't it? Fantastic job, guys. So get clicking that thumbs up button. Right then, let's just get straight into the live. Let's get straight into it. I'm not going to, no anticipation here. Let's get straight into it. Within the statement, it said, we've spent over 450 billion over the last 3 years, giving us a net spend of £100 million per season. Now, I'm going to ignore the 450 million. It might be, it might not be. I don't know. We can go on Transfer Market. We can have a look at their guesses, and some of it's accurate, but some of it is a little bit of a guess. We can go by what we believe as West Ham fans, because if I was to say a player to you, you'd be able to say, oh yeah, this is what we paid. If I said to you, Niklas Füllkrug, Jean-Claire Todibo, you've got numbers in your head, haven't you? Oh, 25 million, oh, 35 million, but they vary, because some people would have went, oh, hang on, 19 million, oh, 30 million, they vary, right? I don't want to do that. To call them out for a lie, I need to be accurate. So I've ignored the total spend. I'm focusing on the net spend, right? That bit. 100 million net spend per season. I'm calling that out. And how am I going to prove it? I've gone and had a look at their accounts. The accounts that they register with Company House, the accounts that they put up on their official website at whufc.com, where you will find said statement, which is no longer on the front page, by the way. Someone in that team, that social media team, the website team at West Ham, know that statement's bad. Because if you go on whufc.com this morning, it's not there. You have to go into news to find the statement. They've hid it. Someone at that club have gone, this is a bad statement. Someone has hid that statement. Unfortunately, it's out there and it's easy to find. Just go into news, but it's not on their homepage anymore. It's been moved. Embarrassed. Anyway, so I've got some numbers. So I've gone on to through the accounts and had a look. Now, the good thing with the accounts is it runs up until the 31st of May. But there's probably an official word for this. I'm going to call it the comment section, right? In the bit that comes after all the figures, there's a sort of post-accounting summary. And within there, it tells you exactly how much West Ham have spent, net spend, on transfers for that summer transfer window. So we'll say post 31st of May, 2024, West Ham United have spent £109 million net on transfers, inclusive of agent fees. So the numbers I'm going to give you, I've rounded them up or down, right? I'm not going to give you the 109 million, this much thousand, this much pounds, and this much pence. I've rounded it up to the nearest million. These figures include agent fees. That's according to the accounts. So summer 2024, 109 million net. Summer 2023, 4.7 million net. Decomise, we sold Decomise. 4.7 million net. Summer 2022, 155 million net. Now, obviously, summer 25, we don't have it. They're not in the accounts yet. They'll be out in December, late on in the year. So I'm estimating, but you know what? I'm gonna go 50 million. Transfer Market has it around about 44 or 45 million. I'm going to go up to 50 million. I'm going to bump it up a little bit. I'm going to be kind to the club. Now, I appreciate what you're saying. More about January's. Danny Ings is the only real significant signing within this period, but we can add him later on. Just stick with me here. So we add up all those numbers. We get 618.7 million, and that's 4 summer transfer windows, which gives us 79.67 million net. That includes agent fees. On the official statement on the website, that does not say 100 million net, which includes agent. It doesn't say that. It's talking about transfer fees only. I'm including agent fees, and it's still only 80 million. So even if you want to bump on an imaginary 10 million more for January transfers for Calvin Phillips and Danny Ings, which Danny Ings cost that much, Calvin Phillips certainly didn't. Well, let's just chuck it in anyway. Well, and also, we're talking about net here, so that doesn't include the sales that we made in January, such as Thilo Kehrer, for example. 80 million, let's bump it up to 90 million. It's still a lie. I mean, they're 20 million off in my book. It's a lie. But why do that? Because she will know, and I'm assuming Karen Brady wrote this, she will know that they haven't spent 100 million net. So why do it? Because it's not for you and it's not for me. Because she knows we know. She knows we know that West Ham haven't spent 100 million net. per summer, per transfer window, per season, whatever. And also, I'm being kind, by the way, because she wrote the last 3 years. I've gone back. You could argue that's inclusive of summer 2022. I've done 4 summer transfer windows here. I've given her that one because summer 2022 is the £155 million net spend. So I've added that in. I've given her the big one. I've not held her to 3 years, because to me 3 years is 36 months. I've given her 38, 39 months. I've given her a little bit extra. I've been kind. Don't say I'm not kind. I'm actually helping her figures here, and it's still 20 million short per season. Because she's speaking to the mainstream media. She's speaking to the journalist that won't bother his arse to research this, and he will just put up on his website, West Ham have spent 100 million net over the last 3 seasons. What's their problem? Well, because it's a lie. It's a blatant lie. Anyway, let's move on. There's a few other things that I'm not keen on. Attendance says they've got 62,500 supporters for every home game. Well, that's just a lie, isn't it? That's just a lie. Lie. The club report tickets sold as attendance. Now, it's not just West Ham. This is a league-wide thing. They all do it. So when it says that West Ham's attendance was 66,000, it wasn't. There were 66,000 tickets sold. How do we know this? Because it's a public-owned stadium, we can use the Freedom of Information Act and we can access the real attendances, not tickets sold, those that went through the turnstiles. It's about 50,000 every week, which is a lot, by the way. Do you know something? They should almost be proud of that number. Say, look, it's 50,000 people every week. But they're not. They're almost ashamed. And I'll tell you why they're ashamed. Because there's 15,000 people not turning up every week. And they know that. But they can't say that. So they said, oh yeah, 62,500 supporters every home game attend. No, they don't. You know they don't. And also, supporters, right, okay. Let me just use you against you. Against Spurs at the weekend, you had increased security. Why did you have increased security? To prevent Spurs fans being in the home end. Okay, well, if West Ham fans are turning up 62,500 every home game, why do you need to do that? You don't. Did you need to do that at Upton Park? No. I'll tell you why. Because away fans didn't go in the home end. The home end was West Ham fans. Now, I'm sure there was a few tourists at Upton Park, right? I once went with someone that didn't support West Ham. But he didn't wear any colour. He didn't even support the team we were playing. He just came with me because I went to London from Aberdeen. He came down with me for a weekend away in London. I wanted to go to West Ham, so he came with me. So there would have been tourists at Upton Park, but you never had to have heightened security because everyone behaved themselves. Everyone respected Upton Park. But the club are doing heightened security checks against Spurs. Why? Because they know Spurs fans are in the home end. They know when we play Arsenal, Arsenal fans are in there. When we play Arsenal, there's Man U fans in the home end. There's fans of just every club in the home end. There's Premier League fans in the home end. So when you say you're claiming 62,500 West Ham fans every home game, well, A, why are you doing heightened security checks if there's only home fans? And B, it's not even 62,500 people, it's 50,000 people. The truth is out there. We know how much it is. I know. I'm not going to say it on camera. I know what the lowest ever attendance is at a West Ham game at the London Stadium for a league game. I'm not going to say it, but I know what it is. And there's a reason I'm not saying it. Now, moving away from that, anyway, they've done the whole look at the stadium. It's fantastic. I mean, this is the frustrating thing. It's in the minutes of the club that they put out. It didn't really address the stadium, but I know they were getting pressed on the stadium in that meeting. But when she's speaking about the stadium, she's going on about as if it's good. Oh, we're playing winning football. The atmosphere will be good. So it said something like that. We appreciate or we understand that if the results improve, the atmosphere is better. It's not always the case, though, is it? It's just to suggest it's only because of results. I think it's insulting. So when West Ham fans say, and if you like the stadium, that's okay. I'm not saying you have to dislike it, but for a lot of people, they do dislike it. I dislike it. I don't dislike it because we're losing. I disliked it when we were winning. When we were finishing high up the table, when we were playing European football. I disliked the stadium then. Don't get me wrong, some of the Sevilla night was incredible. One of the best games of football I've ever attended. But you know what? I was at the Frankfurt game, the semi-final. The atmosphere was rubbish. The stadium was rubbish. So it's not just purely results. To suggest it's purely down to results is insulting to anyone that carries an opinion of dislike towards that stadium. If you say, I don't like the stadium because of X, Y, Z, she'll turn around and go, yeah, but if we were winning, you'd like it, wouldn't you? No! Listen! Listen, you've been in there 9 years now. People are telling you we don't like the stadium because of this, because of that, and because of this. So for you to go, yeah, but if we're winning, you'd like it. No. Listen to why people like Upton Park. People like going to Upton Park, even though we were crap, right? So if you want to use the whole results basis, your opinion, Upton Park kills it, null and void. Some of the best games I've been to at Upton Park, we got beat. The atmosphere was good. Some of the best games I've been to were in the Championship. Granted, we won those games, but my point is, results-based would indicate the fact that you're in the Premier League and you're doing well. But it's not the case. It is absolutely not the case. One of my favourite West Ham games I've been to in my life, we got pumped. Man City put 6 past us, albeit away from home. But my point is, to suggest it's results-based is so insulting and false. And do you know what? Just a lie. And I'll tell you why it's a lie. Because she's had these feedback groups for years upon years. And no one goes in there and goes, people don't like the stadium because we're not winning, Kaza. No one says that. They give them the reasons because of X, Y, Z. And do you know what? All they're doing is reiterating the promises they made about the stadium, saying, well, you said we'd have this, or we'd have that, or we'd have this, and you ain't delivered. That's why we don't like the stadium. So for her to say, well, if results were better, no, that's a cop-out. That is an absolute cop-out. Because we were good under David Moyes. The results were good. The stadium was still crap. Here's one of my favourite things. The biggest strength of the training ground is a unique, intimate atmosphere. Right, okay. I mean, it's just waffle now, isn't it? Right? Just call her Belgian because that's all you're getting from her. Just pure waffle. What does that even mean? I mean, we know what it means. The atmosphere is good, right? But what I think the reason I'm picking that out is because they were bragging about spending £4 million on porta cabins. In the statement, they're bragging about how much they've spent. That's not a good thing. If you'd said, we've only spent £500,000 on the training ground, so we appreciate we've got to spend more, but there's 10 million there, we're going to invest that in, and we're going to get buildings made out of bricks. I don't know why I'm laughing. I want to cry. But to sit there and brag about how much you said, oh, we spent 4 million on the training ground, 4 million more porta cabins. This is not, you think that's a brag. This is what concerns me about them. They think they're doing a good job. They put that in the statement, bragging about how they spent 4 million on the training ground because they think it's brag-worthy. That's like someone saying to me, you don't spend money on clothes. Me going, what? This t-shirt, 200 quid, mate. I spend money on clothes. That's not a good thing. This ain't worth 200 quid. You might even debate it's not worth 20 quid. My point is, just because you spent money on something doesn't mean you're doing a good job, doesn't mean it's worth it. I would argue the fact you've spent millions on the training ground is a bad thing. You're showing that you're bad at what you do. You'd be better off saying, do you know what, we've not really spent much money on the training ground because it looks like you haven't. So the fact that you have, and that's what we've got, tell you what, Mr. Sullivan, go get a tent. Just stick with me. Get a tent. No, not a tent. A porta cabin. Yeah, we'll go with that. Get a porta cabin and pop it at the bottom of your garden. Your massive garden. Put a porta cabin down there. Give yourself some electricity, running water. So you've got all the facilities you need to live, right? So it's like a mini house, right? You've got a house, but it's a porta cabin. You're living in a porta cabin. And go live in it. And whilst you're living in it, every night you've got to look out the window at your mansion at the other end of the garden. You've got to look at that big house and go, wow, wouldn't that be a nice house to live in? Damn. I wish I could live in that house. And when you're doing that also, by the way, you've got to pay 100 grand a day to live in your porter cabin, right? You've got to fork out a lot of money to live in your porter cabin. And when someone rings you up, you've got to brag. Say, yeah, but mate, listen, I spent $500,000 on my house, on my porter cabin. I spent $500,000 on it. Look at it. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. I've got a Toshiba telly from Argos. I'm buzzing. It's fantastic. I've even got Talk broadband. It's brilliant. 10 megabyte download speed. It's fantastic. I'm spending 700 grand a week to live in this porter cabin. It's wonderful, right? Brag about it. But then look at that mansion. Because that's what it's like to be at the training ground at West Ham. You turn up and you look at Spurs' training ground. You look at Arsenal's training ground and stadium. And you're looking at all the other clubs with their world-class facilities while you're training in porter cabins. You want to use a pool? Oh, no, sorry. I don't care if Spurs have got their own pool and hydrotherapy. We don't have that at West Ham. But what we do give you is a membership for David Lloyd, so you can go to the nearby swimming pool and use their facilities. Hey, that's good, isn't it? We get membership for David Lloyd. And that is how we do your rehab when you're injured at West Ham. We pop you down to the local gym to go in the pool, because we don't have one here. Sullivan, if you're listening, do not install a paddling pool at West Ham. That is not it is the equivalent. Porter cabin to what they've got is the equivalent of getting a paddling pool. Don't get a paddling pool, and don't get a Toshiba telly from Argos either. Here's the one thing. I'm coming to the end, don't worry. Here's the one thing. Potter's philosophy is an environment of trust and togetherness. And that's going to win games, isn't it? You got beat again, yeah, but we've got trust and togetherness. How are you going to beat Crystal Palace at the weekend? Trust and togetherness. Anyway, trust and togetherness, that's exactly what we don't have in you. You've written an entire statement to show why we don't have trust and togetherness in the West Ham United board. So while Potter may have trust and togetherness at the porter cabins, which, by the way, is the reason we won the Europa Conference League, even though Potter was the manager, even though there's only 5 players left from the winning squad, that trust and togetherness that's currently at the porter cabins is why we won the Conference League 2 years ago. There might be trust and togetherness in the squad, and I hope there is, but there's no trust and togetherness between the board of West Ham United and the fan base of West Ham United. Maybe you should get Graham Potter on your board. Maybe you should get Graham Potter to have written that statement, because he would have said, Kaza, this don't scream trust and togetherness. You probably want to rewrite this. And lastly, to sum up this board, it bragged that after winning the Conference League, which I mentioned twice about how they won the Conference League, they mentioned it twice. They won it, not David Moyes. There's no mention of David Moyes, but twice they won the Conference League. Significant investment into the scouting and player recruitment post winning the Conference League. Significant investment. We've already established you've lied about the money spent. That summer, we won the Conference League in 2023. That summer, according to your own accounts, there was a net spend of 4.7 million. That's a significant investment. But let's just go with it. So what did we do that summer? Well, I'll tell you what we've done. We employed Tim Steidten. We pitted him against David Moyes. So for the next 12 months, Steidten and Moyes had different ideas, and they were clashing heads. He offered the manager a contract. He then withdrew that contract offer. Then in the summer, you decided to go get Lopetegui, and you put Steidten in charge of the transfer window. Significant investment into the player recruitment and scouting, remember? Their words, not mine. That's what's on the website. So that summer, Tim Steidten was recruiting some players he liked and some players that Lopetegui liked. So they spent 2020. They spent a net spend of 109 million. Their accounts, not mine. 109 million they spent. That's fair enough. That is significant. Plus, they also agreed to sign Todibo this summer. Fine. I would suggest that is a significant investment into player recruitment. That's not my point. I'm getting to it, I promise you. With months after that window had shut, after the significant investment just 15 months ago, Tim Steidten's then removed, basically told you're not in charge of January transfer window. We've had 1 month of seeing the players and we don't like them, so you're out. 6 months after the window closed, not even 6 months after the window closed, Steidten's been removed, gone. Lopetegui's been sacked. So you may well have significant investment into player recruitment and scouting. But a year and a half after said significant investment, post-winning the Conference League, the guy in charge of the transfer windows was gone. The guy in charge of the scouting was gone. The manager was gone. Again, you may have invested significantly, but you've done an incredibly bad job of it. You hired Lopetegui, Kretinsky, and listen, he's part of all this as well. The letter of no confidence was at Daniel Kretinsky too. It wasn't just Sullivan and Brady. Kretinsky was on there as well. But he was the one that put Steiden in, and then David Sullivan overruled Daniel Kretinsky and got rid of Tim Steiden. I'm not saying Steiden done a good job. I'm not even saying if Lopetegui done a good job or if David Moyes. I'm not speaking about the performances of those people. What I'm speaking about is that this board invested significantly post-Conference League win, and 18 months later, which is no time in football, 18 months later had got rid of all of it. Their significant investment was pissed up the Portakabin wall.